I was like, okay, this kid's bubbling up. Let me start paying attention. But I never actually looked at the statistics.
He's unbelievable.
Okay, so that's somebody we have to really be paying attention.
You're gonna have to deal with him this weekend.
Okay, we'll be paying attention to that. Not only did we have baseball, we'll talk about that more coming up next segment. The NBA playoffs got in action. Nobody's paying attention to Orlando and Cleveland, but
no,
it was a game 7 of people are supposed to be excited.
Sure,
still couldn't get there. Not that excited about that. Lamont's cooking.
Telling you, man. I think the meal is finally prepared, and it looks pretty darn good.
Lamont is cooking. There was some news in the transfer portal, big time pickup. Point guard Jamari Thomas over the weekend. Kind of a quiet recruitment. Again, I'm reading his profile, and the first 2 words were smart and crafty.
Yeah,
and that sounds like Lamont. That sounds like what he wants.
And he seems like a guy that can kind of do a little bit of everything for you. Can score at the bucket, can shoot threes, also plays good defense as well. So brings a really good dynamic to this team. And his recruitment, as you mentioned, was interesting because he was committed to VCU only a couple of days ago, and now he's committed to South Carolina. And I saw some people on the VCU side of things that were calling foul on that. What Lamont Paris, there's nothing illegal about what Lamont Paris did.
Let me guess, what was VCU's argument?
There's that, this guy was already committed and it was tampering, which it's not, because you don't sign an NLI when it comes to transfer portal commitments. So Lamont Paris saw a guy that was committed to VCU, said, hold on, wait a minute, wait till you come here, let's make a decision then. Comes South Carolina this past weekend, was blown away by what he saw, and decided to flip his commitment. Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I guess, and Bill probably can speak more to this than us two, but in the world of basketball, the idea of flipping commitments is a little bit more taboo than,
Sure.
Football is. You bet. You commit. You are recruiting until the last moment in football.
Sure.
I think it's a little more taboo in basketball, but it's not illegal and it's no tampering.
No rules are broken. So it's a very small contingent following the VCU basketball program. But I did see some people that our guy Mike Yu was responding to some folks on Twitter that were upset about what happened. But again, Lamont Paris broke no rules, so no problem with it.
Right. So yeah, a lot of things that were happening this weekend. I'm sure my guy has some thoughts on the weekend. Let's go out to my guy, Gamecock Larry, out on line 1. Gamecock Larry, how you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing okay, boy. Yeah, yesterday, that first 5 or 6 innings of that game, it run my blood pressure there. 185 over 62 or something. Man, I'll tell you, we came back, pulled it off. And we could pull it off, and I want to tell you, they talking about Charlie Condon, but I'm gonna put a jinx on him. Charlie, you gonna come in here, you gonna tear us up. You gonna hit balls to the wall, and they're gonna be caught. Boy, we got that guy yesterday. He saved that grand slam. Boy, I tell you, I don't know, but I don't know what I'm trying to say. But, oh, yeah, happy late birthday, Mr. Bill Gunther of old Gamecock Larry. Now, can I say something? My motocross is sponsor, my owner and sponsor of my Gamecock Larry motocross and racer team is throwing a little old get-together on the 11th this coming Saturday. I know it's a busy Saturday, but I don't know why they're doing this, but they want to throw a little get-together. Everybody is welcome, especially I want to put a special invitation out to 107.5, especially the early morning team. Oh, I want them all to come out if they can. If they can't, I understand. On the 11th, but now, what else would I go say? Charlie Condon, you going to be shut down. We going to win 2 out of 3. Go Gamecocks. Love all y'all. And talk to you later. Go Gamecocks.
Appreciate that, Larry. Great call, as always.
Little hex getting put on early
I like
in the week.
A little bit of the reverse psychology. So he said really clearly, Charlie's going to have a great weekend. He's going to be locked in, knocking the balls to the park, but it's a reverse psychology. So, Charlie, if you're out there listening to Columbia Sports Radio at 6:10 in the morning on a Monday, you're going to have a great series. It's going to be welcoming to you here in Columbia.
You know, he brings up a good point. Can't hit home runs if you got somebody robbing it off the top of the fence like Brindley did yesterday. So we'll see how that goes this upcoming weekend.
We'll see how it goes. Big weekend coming up. But as you said, if you didn't hear, we'll get into a little bit more next segment when we kind of break down their series. And we go back to my question again. How do you prefer your victories? How do you want them? I know. At this point in the season, we're gonna take them however we can get them. But just as a fan, what do you really want?
Well, from a blood pressure standpoint, I think we would all prefer what happened on Friday night. Nice, comfortable victory, pulling away early on, not really having to worry about it. Because, as you're getting to like the fourth or fifth inning on Sunday, you're starting to think like, man, dropping 2 out of 3 on the road at Missouri, going home, having to play Georgia this upcoming weekend, Tennessee the following weekend. Like, man, we're going to drop out of a national seed. Like, well, what's going on here? Going to have to go on the road and regional. You start like planning for worst case scenarios. And yes, baseball's such a high and low sport. One game can really turn things. But then you come away from the weekend like, doing pretty good.
Right where we want to be. Right where we be. So on the other side, we'll talk a little bit more about the series. We had some awesome plays, some guys that are heating up, and we'll look forward to next week. And this is the early game. Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, Tyler Head. We'll be back.
We do have a report of an accident, I-77 southbound at Forest Drive. Again, that's I-77 southbound at Forest Drive. Forecast-wise, it's going to be a high of 82 today. Maybe some rain coming in sometime later this morning. Chances for a few thunderstorms this afternoon. And then overnight low of 66, high of 90 tomorrow, 91 on Wednesday. Maybe some afternoon or evening storms again on Thursday, and a high of 87. Looks like maybe for Mother's Day weekend we drop into the upper 70s. But right now, it's a little bit overcast, and it's 69 on the early game.
Here's a drive. Messina unloads to deep right center field. It is gone. 3-run blast for Cole Messina as the Gamecocks have kicked the door in here at Missouri. Well, we told you that big building in right field, that field house blocks the wind and knocks balls down. There was nothing that was going to knock that one down for Cole Messina.
That was Somerville alum, Gamecock catcher Cole Messina with a big start of a big weekend, huge weekend. If I was just to call out his numbers, I got them written down real quick right here. Cole Messina for the weekend, 7 of 11, 2 home runs, a triple, and 7 RBI.
Yeah, he hit for the cycle on the weekend.
That would qualify you as MVP of the series, right?
Yeah, pretty much. He is absolutely heating up at the right time. Obviously, in that cleanup spot as of right now, and certainly stepped up to the task. That 3-run homer on Friday, and then another home run yesterday, and you know is often the catalyst for things kind of kicking in gear when it comes to this offense. And you know, again, when you talk about these upcoming tough series that you have, Tennessee, Georgia, obviously whatever you're going to end up facing in the postseason, you're going to need him to be at his best because he is one of your best players coming into the season. You knew that preseason All-American and playing like it right now.
So I asked the question again. As a fan, how do you want your wins to come? Do you want them like Friday night, 10-2, fairly, relatively coasting through the game, got it under control the whole time? Or do you want a comeback like we had on Sunday?
I will always take Friday night and a comfortable win because, sure, crazy comebacks can happen, but there's a sense of enjoyment knowing you have a comfortable lead, watching those last couple of outs click off, as opposed to going into the 7th inning yesterday down by a couple runs. Like, man, you're gonna need something gonna need some kind of spark to really get things back in gear. And yes, when you end up winning, when it's all said and done, you feel good about that come from behind win, but the process of getting there, very stressful. As Gamecock Larry said, blood pressure was going through the roof. I think a lot of people would agree with that. I don't know. You can only take so many of those.
So at the end of the series, by the end of the series, the Gamecocks improved to 32-15 in the SEC. They're 13-11. We'll have Jamie Bradford coming on here in the 7 o'clock hour to really, really break this down and get confirmation. But he was talking last week about the magic numbers being 15-ish, 15 to 16 wins in the SEC to really get them as far to get that seeding the way they want in the postseason.
Yeah, as long as you can be right above 500 because of just how good the SEC is, you're probably going to be in pretty good shape. And especially when you look at the fact that South Carolina's got big series wins over Vanderbilt, over Kentucky, Florida a couple weeks ago. Like, they have good quality wins on their resume. And again, if you can go into these next couple of weekends, obviously you want to win both series, but if you can just come away 500 between Tennessee and Georgia, you still should be in pretty good shape. That will get you to that 16-win mark, and should likely still have you as one of those seeds hosting a regional coming up here in about a month's time.
So on Friday night, we had the pretty fairly pedestrian 10-2 win. Then obviously said on Sunday we had to come back, which I think, as you highlighted in the first segment, the biggest play was probably here, clip 3, Jen. This is the thing that when you're playing and growing up and playing baseball, you dream about this. You practice this. You imagine it in your mind. How many times have we seen it? You go up over the wall and you make the play. But not just to make the play, you make the play in the moment. All right, here's Austin Brindley robbing what was a game-changing play right here.
0-1, and he drives it to deep left center field. Brenlin's not going to get there. Yes, he is. He makes a leaping catch at the wall, and he throws it in. 1 run will score, tagging at third. Oh, Austin Brindley saves a grand slam. He gets a hat tip from Garrett Gainey. Brindley ran to the wall in left center and leaped and made the catch. Missouri makes it 4-1, but the Gamecocks will take that trade out.
Do you know how hard that is to do?
It's impossible. Nearly impossible. I mean, obviously these guys are such athletes that they make things like that even possible. Even as you was listening to the announcer, it's like, oh, that's going to be a gapper. That's going to be a shot. He's like, oh, wait a minute.
Sure.
Yeah, it is nearly impossible to do.
And for Austin Brindley, here's a guy that only a couple weeks ago was a non-factor on this team, only had a handful of at-bats coming into the series a couple weeks ago, and has just exploded offensively, and then goes out there and makes a great defensive play as well, and obviously slid into that leadoff spot for this team. Like, you want to talk about making the most of your opportunities. Austin Brindley is doing just that, and again, that would have been a grand slam yesterday. Now, one run still ended up scoring because it ended up being a sac fly, but you're talking about the difference in a 4-1 game at that point in time and a 7-1 game at that point in time. And again, South Carolina was still able to come back and score 9 runs at the end of things, but the perception and how you handled the rest of that game, being down 3 runs as opposed to being down 6, that was so huge.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. Just in the way that your plate approaches, the way that you're approaching every at-bat, the pressure that you feel on yourself. Again, this is a series that you're not supposed to drop. At this point, you're starting to think, oh, man, no matter how gritty or anything you are, those nerves can start to get to you. So he makes that play and changes the tenor of the game. And then, Jen, let's get with my guy Ethan Petrie for his solo on clip 5 so we can hear him sort of wrap things up.
1-0 pitch, driven to center. Lovich goes back. He's at the wall. He looks up. It's gone! And we are tied. Ethan Petrie sends it out of here to center field. Second home run of the inning. This one comes with 2 outs, and the Gamecocks are back in it. We're knotted up at 4.
We've talked about this year, and I don't know if I'm too early to this, but there has been teams along the way. They've had the moniker of the Cardiac Cocks.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're too early to this. Tyler, are we too early to this, or do we need to wait a minute?
I don't think you're too early. We've definitely seen that trend here as of late. Again, you hope you can just win games pretty convincingly. You don't have to deal with it. But, hey, sometimes there have been plenty of seasons with the Braves over the past couple of years where we're just like, all right, we're just going to start winning these games in the bottom of the 9th or in extra innings or something like that. And you just kind of accept it. So I hope that's not the case and we can have a little bit more comfortable wins. But, you'll take them any way you can get them.
Last but not least, Jen, can we get this one more? I'm sorry to get you back there working. Let's listen to Coach Kingston talk about his team's resilience. It's clip 6.
Yeah, look, this team has a lot of heart. This team has a lot of fight. There's no doubt about it. And I think today was just another example of that. It looked a little bleak there late. It was 4-1 going to the 7th inning, and we couldn't generate anything. And once we got it going, we couldn't stop. It was a lot of fun to watch. Our bullpen came in and was just dominant, and we finally got our offense going again. It was just a very, very big win for us.
What was the jams? Was that the locker room party going on?
So when they have away games, they do not have a formal press conference after the games. He literally meets with the media right in front of the dugout. So you got a lot of things going on in the background there. So the audio isn't always the best.
It was fine.
Dua Lipa going on. That's all right.
Yeah,
it was fine.
I enjoyed me some Dua Lipa.
It was cool. But it felt like that was a winning stadium. That didn't feel like a stadium that had just got their hearts taken from them.
That is kind of the weird thing of, after a game like that, I guess they just continue playing music as people are filtering out or whatever it may be. Because I feel like when you lose, especially losing a series like that, and Missouri had not won a go-away game in 2 years, I believe that they said on Sunday.
That's what you just hit on.
I was going to say, and also we hadn't won the series in Missouri since like 2013.
Yeah, it's never an easy place to play.
No, you just hit on the fact they're used to losing.
Yeah, they are.
That's what it is. So they're just like, all right, we'll just go party.
And that's what, because you look at this from a 10,000-foot view and like, oh, well, South Carolina is supposed to go in there and if not win 2 out of 3, sweep the series against Missouri. But it's not easy. And there's a perception around places that you go that you just historically haven't won at that makes it that much more difficult. They just won at Florida for the first time in 12 years a couple weeks ago. Like, it's not easy, no matter how good or bad that opponent is, especially when you've not traveled that far literally this entire season, not to mention the fact you were kind of on a short week because you played a game on Wednesday, traveling on Thursday. So there were a lot of factors that could have not say made excuses for South Carolina winning, but kind of maybe would have piled against them going into the weekend. But they're fortunately able to come away from the victory. Now you get to come home this upcoming weekend against Georgia. You do have a weird midweek at Winthrop, which is kind of odd, but you get through that, take on Georgia, and hopefully can hold them at bay and see what happens then.
All right, so that was baseball. Okay, we got that. We're going to come back to Jamie Bradford in the 7 o'clock. We'll talk a little bit more about baseball. As I said, so much was happening this weekend.
Yep.
We got to section this thing off. All right, that was baseball. Now we have a possible paternity test, as the internet has said. Have we found the real successor to the crown of Michael Jeffrey Jordan?
Oh, we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see you on the other side. This is Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, Tyler Head. This is the early game.
A lot of things happened in baseball this past weekend. A couple of home runs. Talked about Cole Messina, Ethan Petrie grabbing a couple over the course of the weekend. One thing that has not happened yet, unfortunately, is a grand slam this season, as South Carolina is still chasing their first one of the year. And whenever that happens, you could be the lucky recipient of, got to check our numbers here, $1,175. Thanks to our friends over at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. Head online to 1075thegame.com. Register for your chance to win the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. We're getting towards the end of the season, but if a Gamecock hitter blast a home run, you could be the lucky recipient of all that money. Again, head online to 1075thegame.com and register for your chance to win. Again, thanks to our friends over at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union.
And out there on the highways for your Monday morning, we do have a report of an accident I-77 southbound at Forest Drive. So aside from that, so far so good, and looking for maybe some rain after 11 or so today. Could see some thunderstorms in the early afternoon. High of 82. Tomorrow, clouds and 90. Clouds and 91 for Wednesday before we get to some more possible afternoon or evening storms on Thursday with a high of 87. Right now, overcast. It is 69 on the early game.
I mean, I lost to these guys last year, and they are the defending champs. They're a hard team to beat. Great team. They got great players. They got the best player in the league with Nikola Jokic. To me, they got the best closer with Jamal Murray, the best three-point shooter with Michael Porter Jr. So it's tough to beat this team. It's not just my mentality; it's the team mentality. We come in and we know it's going to be a war. And, we just play within the game and just stay within the game. They make runs. We know we got to make our runs and just fight, man. It's going to be a fight.
That was the voice of Anthony Edwards. This is the early game. Preston Thorne, Tyler Head, Jen Jensen. We are in here. The Ant-Man has made his arrival. People been talking, been bubbling below the surface. We played the clip last weekend about basically all our millennial basketball stars have been ushered out to pasture.
Yeah, it's a new era.
The new era is amongst us in the NBA, and this guy is excited. And I'm especially glad that you're in here this morning because, Anthony, you've been familiar with Anthony Edwards. You've seen this whole thing sort of happen. So for those that don't know, Anthony Edwards, in game one against the Timberwolves, the defending champs, the Timberwolves. I know we don't do a lot of NBA play talks, but this series is the one that I'm most excited to watch. Mm-hmm. Probably more so than any series that will happen for the rest of the playoffs. I am really tuned in to what this series is going to be. So for those that don't know, Anthony Edwards scored, let me get the stat line correct, 43, 7, and 3. 43 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists.
Right.
14 of his 43 came in the fourth quarter during clutch time.
Yep.
This is the guy. People have been talking about Anthony Edwards. Now, you are really interesting because you've seen Anthony Edwards for essentially, you probably might even followed his recruitment.
Yeah, so when he was coming out of high school and projected to be, even before he stepped foot on a college court, as maybe the number 1 overall pick in the draft, was garnering a lot of fanfare. And, again, I was at Georgia when he was there. Tom Creaney coming there this season before, so a lot of fanfare around that team. You don't know what their record in SEC play was the year that Anthony Edwards was there?
Not good.
5-13.
Ooh.
That was a team. I went back and looked because it's easy to forget after a couple years. That team had Anthony Edwards and Severe Wheeler, who went on to play at Kentucky for a couple seasons there. Like, they had good talent on that team, and they still managed to only go 500 that entire year and be well under 500 in SEC play. But Anthony Edwards, we knew far and away was going to be a great player. And, it does take some time when you get to the NBA to really kind of emerge as that superstar. He's been playing well over these past couple seasons, but he's really taken it to the next level so far in the playoffs. And I like to judge things in the NBA what I like to call the Kobe line. Kobe Bryant set a ridiculous amount of records in his career that, if you can do anything that he did or as good as he did in any way, then you're doing something special. And now Anthony Edwards is the only player joining Kobe Bryant in postseason history with consecutive 40-point performances at the age of 22 or younger. So when you're in the air of what an all-time great has done, you're doing pretty well. And Anthony Edwards is well on his way to, I don't know what his career is going to end up being. I don't know if we're going to be talking about him in the same way that these guys, but right now he's playing the best basketball of just about anybody right now.
Well, here's something that's really cool that's happening with Anthony Edwards and why I would advise you all to maybe start paying attention. One, he got drafted to an outpost team
Yes.
in the Minnesota Timberwolves. And he is taking that team along with Rudy Gobert, which is a whole nother conversation. But he got Karl Anthony Towns, who we know is supremely talented, but he's soft. So Karl Anthony Towns needed some backup.
Sure.
He needed somebody with some heart to sort of give this team an identity. But he's out in Minnesota. He didn't ask to go. He hasn't asked to go to another team. He wants to make this team work, and he's committed to this team. Everything that we've seen about him on the court, he is tremendous as far as his attitude is concerned. If you didn't love the idea last series, he was talking about how much he grew up watching KD and how
Right.
KD was his favorite player, and
Put his favorite player out in the pasture.
he was glad to send him off. That's the way he can show the ultimate respect to him. This is a throwback kind of guy. He is everything that people say that they didn't like about the NBA. He is opposite of that. He has the killer mentality.
He does, and he's got an interesting personality that makes him, more than just a great player. Somebody you can pay attention to and what he says in press conferences and off the court and stuff like that. And it's one thing to go out there and dominate against a Phoenix Suns, which were a lower seed than you. Now you're doing this against the team that won the championship a season ago that's a higher seed than you. Oh, by the way, they have, Joker on the other side that's legitimately one of the best players in the entire world. So he's allowed – this is his coming out party.
Yep.
For those that – and look, I think everybody was familiar with him to a degree. Maybe you haven't paid a whole lot of attention to him over these past couple of years. You're paying attention to him now. And this is the opportunity to really cement yourself as one of the stars of this new era of the NBA. And I don't know if the Timberwolves are going to go on and win the whole thing, but it's looking pretty good right now.
It's fun. It's a fun thing, and I think that's the big thing for me with Ant-Man is that, KD could be very serious, and he was always grumpy all the time.
Sure.
LeBron is LeBron, but LeBron is very much corporate LeBron.
Sure.
He's going to say the right thing at the right time. He's going to read the script. Steph was lovable. The Ant-Man is interesting. What does that mean? I don't know. Sometimes it could go wrong sometimes, but it's interesting at least.
And look, the NBA is built on personalities.
Correct.
We talk about it. The NBA regular season doesn't matter a whole lot. We're more inept to talk about what somebody said in a press conference than what they actually did in a regular season game in the middle of January. And Anthony Edwards gives you that type of content because he might go out there and drop 40 points and then also say something interesting after the game or post something interesting on social media. Like that is what appeals to a lot of people, and Anthony Edwards does that really well.
And in this particular series, I guess why I'm stomping this series is that it's not only Anthony Edwards, but as you said, then you have the other guy on, Shrek on the other side who just bumbles and stumbles down the court and somehow performs wizardry on the basketball court in Nikola Jokic. And it's fun to watch these two emerging superstars because you have Ant-Man who might say anything. Then you have Nikola Jokic who clearly just does not even want to play basketball. He just wants to go home to his horses, right?
They are very much polar opposites. Obviously, very, very great players, but like Jokic, and I loved. I saw a compilation of clips the other day when people are asking him like, "Oh, how did it feel playing in this series or playing against this guy?" And he's like, "It's fine, play basketball." like he's just he's not going to give you anything. You know what I mean? And the clips last year of him after winning the finals and being distraught about the parade being on like Tuesday of that week. He's like, no, I got to go home. I got horses to tend to and all that kind of stuff. He's very much a different cat, but you can appreciate him for just how good he is on the court and the anomaly that he is. Because like you said, he's not really like the most athletic guy out there by any means, but he's just a really good basketball player, and that's fun to watch.
Yeah. It's really, really interesting, and it just shows you how basketball can get done in so many different ways. So not only did we conjure up Kobe, but then there was sparks of Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. So all of these big names are getting thrown around as we talk about these two playing basketball.
And I know I brought the Kobe thing a moment ago because he did do something that only Kobe Bryant has done before with consecutive 40-point performances at the age of under 22. I hate that we always have to compare guys to the greatest. Like, so this guy's starting to play well. Is he the next this? Is he the next that? I just want guys to be themselves. Just let him be Anthony Edwards, and whatever his career ends up being at the end of it, he may not be the greatest of all time, but maybe he's top 10. And you know what? That's perfectly fine.
Tyler, that's not how this works.
That's not how this works, unfortunately.
That is not how this works.
Everybody has to be Patrick Mahomes got to be the next Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. Anthony Edwards got to be the next Michael Jordan. It just goes on and on and on.
notice what they didn't say. They didn't say, "Oh, baby LeBron."
No.
No, LeBron sitting home like, why can't somebody be the next me?
Yeah.
What about me? What's wrong? What's wrong with what I got going on there? As we said, the Lakers are on the clock. LeBron's trying to figure out what's going to happen. But while that's happening, the league is being taken over.
It is.
By these young guys.
Which, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this last week or if I was talking about it with Terry. With LeBron every offseason, it's always this game of, ooh, is he going to retire? Where is he going to go? LeBron James going to tell you when he's going to retire. He's not going to go off into the sunset without having his season-long curtain call of getting to play in every venue for the last time, play every team for the last time, getting all of his accolades and naming, sections of arenas after him or whatever, keys to the city. Who knows what kind of accolades going to go along with it. Like LeBron James is going to let you know well in advance when his last game of basketball is being played. So don't buy into this, maybe he's going to retire this offseason. That's BS.
Yeah, that's... Tyler, that is 100% facts. He is going to have the biggest farewell tour for himself that you could imagine. He'll set the dates and make sure everything is coordinated for himself so he can have a big party.
It'll be like Bill's birthday, basically.
Oh yes,
perfect. That's perfect. He will not let us. It won't pass by without us knowing that this happened. Bill LeBron connection. There might be something. Might be something there.
The only time we're ever going to compare Bill and LeBron.
That would be correct.
The Bill and LeBron connection. Whew, okay. All right. We got through baseball. We got through basketball.
Yeah.
Tyler, that was fine.
Yes.
But this is the real thing that's been clogging up my timeline all weekend. When we come back on the other side, I have to tell everybody the big news from the weekend. Beef is what's for Twitter timelines. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back into the early game. Preston Thorne, Tyler Head, Jen Jensen wrapping up the hour number 1. Tyler, my timeline was in shambles this weekend. It was total chaos. Text messages, WhatsApp, Twitter. It was a flaming heap of trash this week. It was so much happening.
So, and I was out of town for the first couple of days of the weekend, so I came into this a little bit late. What was the catalyst for this going down? What was the spark of what ended up being which, by the way, shout out to the producers, shout out to everybody behind the scenes for the quick turnaround times on these diss tracks, because, I mean, they were coming out minutes apart, it felt like.
Fast and furious. All right, there's a whole background that I don't know if we have the whole capacity to go through, but let me break it down. Essentially, before we get to our clip, here's the deal. Kendrick Lamar, who's a rapper, and Drake, who someone consider he raps.
He does.
All right.
We'll leave it at that.
Key distinction. Kendrick Lamar's a rapper,
he's a little more in his feels about it.
And Drake raps. Listen, they had a relationship a long time ago, then something happened. We don't know what happened, but apparently there was a split.
Sure.
There have been building issues between these two for a moment. And it's essentially, you can understand this.
Yeah.
In wrestling, remember when it was, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels,
sure,
versus Bret Hart?
Yep.
The excellence of execution.
Mm-hmm.
If you understand wrestling, then you understand this battle.
Oh, yeah.
You have Drake, who is obviously, who is he? He's obviously Shawn Michaels, right?
Sure.
Pretty boy.
A little cocky.
He's flamboyant, very, very cocky. You have Kendrick Lamar, who is all about the raps.
Just very efficient.
I'm efficient. I rap. I am a rapping robot. This is what I do. And essentially, these two dudes just don't see the world in the same way. They don't see the music in the same way. They don't see things in the same way. And so this has been brewing for a while. So Kendrick Lamar throws a little subtweet. Let me give you the dates. Okay. March 22nd, Kendrick Lamar throws a little subtweet and is like, hey, man, listen, I'm the best.
Yeah.
Drake's like, that's funny because I think I'm the best. So that was on March 22nd. Okay? We're going to move J. Cole totally out of this because J. Cole entered the fray.
That was another thing about this weekend. There were a lot of people that are trying to jump in on this and are like, nah, just sit this one out.
Clear this one out because these are the two big dogs that have to have this this moment. So J. Cole tried to enter the fray, get you out of here. Okay, Drake enters with his first official entry into the Royal Rumble on April 19th, which was push-ups.
Okay.
All right. Very solid effort from Drake. He's going at Kendrick Lamar. He's calling him short. All these are fair on play. I don't know if Drake thought that they were playing in the same game, right? I think Drake thought this was two-hand touch, and Kendrick Lamar was like, clearly I've been waiting for this moment.
He went about it like, and look, this isn't the first time that two high-level rappers have had beef. A little bit back, if anything, it's a good promotion for both those guys. A little, gets everybody in the headlines. People talking about you, all that kind of stuff. Good little back and forth, but Kendrick was. He had some stuff ready.
Yeah, he just wasn't playing the same game.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Jen, we had a clip. This clip perfectly encapsulates the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef. This is from Drake's perspective and Kendrick Lamar's perspective.
You look very weak. You should go to the gym. And you're below average height.
I hate the way you dress, I hate the way you look, I hate the way you walk. You've created a fake persona because you're empty inside. There's nothing behind those eyes except a desperate need to be
Dude,
loved.
I thought we're just having like a
You
good
need
time.
other people to write words for you because you're not good at what you do and you have nothing of substance to say. You're so untalented at the one thing you want to be great at. All your heroes laugh at you, and it would be funny if it weren't so f***ing tragic. Anybody... Your own friends don't like you. They work for me. And you're Canadian. All right. This was fun.
Yeah, that's essentially what it was. I thought this was just going to be a little bit of name calling in each other, and then Kendrick Lamar went nuclear, and the timeline's going off. Friday night, Kendrick Lamar drops a diss Friday afternoon. Drake comes back Friday evening. Kendrick Lamar comes back Friday night. I'm falling asleep. I'm waking up. There's messages on the timeline. Then Kendrick Lamar drops another one on Saturday. People are partying all over the country. Reaction videos. It's a lot.
Yeah, I think that clip perfectly encapsulated it, though, exactly how that went down. And yeah, what a weekend.
Well, it was just a tremendous weekend. So for all the rap dorks out there, I salute you, salute myself. It's been a long weekend. You've been reading lyrics, you've been going through timelines, you've been looking at producer tags. All this stuff has been happening. You can take a breath. I think. Well, Drake responded again last night, but I haven't gotten to that one yet. But I think it's over. I think it's over. But the best have to clash at the top. This is historic. This is tremendous. Round of applause for both Kendrick Lamar and Drake for getting into the fray and at least having the courage to battle. So,
what if we should try doing that? Like have a battle with somebody, you know?
We gotta find an enemy.
Well, that's true.
You gotta find an enemy.
We just love everybody.
Yeah,
so it'd be hard for us.
We gotta find every enemy.
Maybe one of those stations in the upstate or something.
Yeah, we'll pick somebody out. Yeah. We'll battle them and look them out.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. All right, man. So that was our number one. We'll come back. We got Jamie Bradford on the other side. We'll talk a little bit more baseball. We'll talk some transfer portal. Lamont's cooking. Lamont is cooking. We'll see what's going on with that. This is the early game. Tyler Head, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen. We'll see you on the 7.
There's so many different ways to check us out here on The Game. You can obviously listen to us on the radio at 107.5 The Game right here in Columbia, 100.3 The Game out in Myrtle Beach, 100.5 The Game out in Florence. You can also check us out on The Game TV, sponsored by our friends over at Shepherd's Glass. Just go to youtube.com, search The Game TV, watch us all day long. Literally, you can look at us right here in the Herndon Chevrolet studios right now, myself and Preston Thorne. That is sponsored by our friends at Shepherd's Glass and powered by our friends over at Integrated Media. You can also check us out on the 107.5 The Game app. Just go to the App Store, the Google Play Store, and download the 107.5 The Game app and take us with you wherever you go around the state, around the country, around the world. The Game is always with you on the 107.5 The Game app.
I-77 southbound at Forest Drive. Really, that's the only slowdown to speak of, and we're okay with that. We don't need any more for your Monday morning. Hope that continues throughout the day. We have good traffic and no accidents and no slowdowns to speak of. And we're looking for some afternoon or evening thunderstorms. A little bit of rain possible after about 11 o'clock this morning. High of 82, clouds, and 90 tomorrow, 91 on Wednesday. Back to seeing maybe some afternoon or evening storms on Thursday and some scattered storms on Friday. But right now, it is cloudy and 69 on the early game.
Welcome back into the early game. Preston Thorne, Tyler Head in for Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. We are here in the 7 o'clock. What a weekend. Like I said, there was so much happening this weekend between the actual sports and the verbal sports, which, by the way, is there anything nerdier than grown men just writing words at each other like, I'm so mad I'm going to write a poem to you. And these words are gonna hurt your feelings.
No, hey, sticks and stones could break my bones. Words can never hurt me, but never. Some of those words a little bit deeper than others, I guess.
Yeah. Of course, the wives, girlfriends are like, you never write me poetry.
Exactly. Well, yeah. Well, see, Jen, this is all part of the beef because there's a lot of conversation about this. The whole thing started because somebody brought up a wife and a girlfriend, and then that's when it went nuclear. It was just supposed to be for exhibition. But anyway. Besides the rap beef, which was all through my Twitter timeline, obviously the Gamecocks had a big weekend, and we got my guy in. Jamie Bradford, are you out there, sir?
I am here. What's up, man?
What's up, brother? How you doing this morning?
I'm good. I'm actually sitting in my family's mountain house out on the porch in Maggie Valley.
So, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's much more peaceful than having to rush the kids to school.
Yeah, the morning rush is always eventful, as everybody knows. All right, am I too early? Is it too early? Is it too early to call this crew the Cardiac Cocks? Are we there yet, or should we relax a little bit? Should I relax? Not we. This is just me personally.
No, I mean, why not? You know, there's plenty of fans that call them all sorts of other things. Why not be positive for them? They deserve it. You know, they're a regional host today. They're knocking on the door of a top 8 national seed. Yeah, this team's got some grit, man, and they certainly have shown a lot of that over the last couple of weeks.
And I don't think it could be understated. And yes, Missouri's obviously not a great team. And, you know, theoretically, when you look at it from a 10,000-foot view, South Carolina should have been able to handle them this weekend. But going on the road to a place that South Carolina has historically struggled at, longest road trip of the season, not to mention you're sandwiched between playing Kentucky and Georgia, this was a huge series win for South Carolina and what is turning into a good run of momentum over these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they've won 3 or 4 series. And you're right, Tyler. Missouri is not very good, but that is a hard place to win, a hard place to win. And let me tell you why. And I'm just going to be frank. Because it sucks. Everything about that place sucks. It's a terrible road trip. It's not easy to get to. The fans are terrible because there aren't any. And the ones that show up literally don't know what they're talking about. They're just yelling. The turf, you've got a turf infield and a grass outfield. And now, I don't know what they've done. I'll have to ask Monty or King or one of those guys this week. Now they've got this mound that they've put like an extra strip of turf over the turf mound that's supposed to be stabilizing for pitchers, and maybe it is, but it's still uncomfortable. It's up on a hill, so like when you pull up to the ballpark, you literally pull up to the ballpark like it's up on a hill. I don't know how to explain this. So you never know what the wind's going to do. It's an awkwardly built area. The stadium is aluminum. It just sucks. Like nobody wants to go there. You know, I mean, y'all are athletes. Preston, you know, would you rather go play in front of 100,000 people in Knoxville, or would you rather go play in front of 15 or 20,000 people in Nashville? Everybody wants to play in front of 100,000 people. Whether you win or lose, you still want the atmosphere. And you know, it's hard for athletes to get up for games and series like this. And, you know, Missouri's playing for a couple of things. One, to get into the SEC tournament, and two, pride. You know, they're trying to be season wreckers right now if they can. And they felt like they had the Gamecocks on the ropes, but their stars had something to say about that. Messina and Petrie and Reeves and those guys decided to hit the ball out of the yard and put this thing to bed. So they escaped, they got out of there, and now these next 6 games are going to decide a lot in the SEC tournament, and then most importantly in regional seeding.
There's nothing more off-putting to me than a turf baseball field. Save the turf for football, play on dirt and grass like everybody else.
Dude, I mean, look, here's the thing too. Not to get off on a tangent, you know, this conversation needs to be about the players, about the Gamecocks. But I understand, like, for instance, at the College of Charleston right now, okay? I get it. You know, it's a budget thing. It costs a lot of money to put it in, and it certainly helps in rain delays. You noticed yesterday they were able to restart the game even in the rain because it is turf, and so it's not like they have to go out there and prep the field to get it ready to play. But like in a place like the College of Charleston, you know, you're on a budget. You're a mid-major. I get all that stuff. Like, I understand those things. Missouri plays in the SEC. Vanderbilt plays in the SEC. Kentucky plays in the SEC. And then they claim climate. Well, how did we get away with it for 100 years? How do the St. Louis Cardinals play in the state of Missouri with grass? How does that happen? I mean, you have a bunch of money. Don't tell us you don't have money. You do have money. It's not that. I think more and more people have tried to get cute. They use money as an excuse, and they want to create this like unique experience at their ballpark. Oh, we're gonna learn how to play on this turf, and nobody else is gonna know how to do it. And there's a lot of truth in that. I mean, if you've been to Vanderbilt, you'll figure it out quickly. It takes time. But I can't stand it. I'm with you. I cannot stand that. You know, if you don't have enough money to put grass on your infield, and you don't have enough money to put a team out there who can go take care of the field when it rains and you know, I don't know, prep the mound and prep the home plate, then shut the program down. I mean, if you don't have enough money to take care of your field, then shut the program down. So I don't buy all that, but at the end of the day, for the first time in 11 years, the Gamecocks went up there and won a series, and they're still on pace to achieve all their goals.
Jamie, I know you're trying to wrap that little spart up about the turf, but I got to ask this again. Because coming out of a rain delay, it's all, you know, the ball is going to be different even on a grass field. Could that have the possibility to dramatically change the strategy of a game when you're coming off not only turf but rain on turf?
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, it can, both offensively and defensively. But, you know, that's really going to matter more where you are in the lineup and what that guy's capable of and not capable of. I mean, for instance, if you've got a guy coming up to the plate coming out of a rain delay, and Gavin Costas, there's a good example. If he's playing third and he hasn't played a ton of third, and you've got a guy who can drop a bunt down, kind of surprise somebody, right? That could cause an issue. But you know, it's hard to answer the question until you get into the exact scenario. But the easy answer is, yeah, it absolutely could be a factor.
Right. Just thinking about that, you know, obviously coming out of the rain delay in the turf situation. But to answer that first question, yeah, playing in a spot with very little atmosphere is difficult for anyone, especially this late in the season when you've played so many games and when you have a taste of playing in all of these really electric atmospheres that you're used to playing in the SEC. It's always real difficult. But they escaped out of there. They got out of there. They got the victory. We're going to come back on the other side and talk a little bit more about it. But before we go, again, I asked the question for everybody, and if you're just tuning in at 7, how do you like your wins? Do you like the win like we got on Friday, 10-2, easy peasy, or would you rather have the win that you got on Sunday? Jamie, what's your answer?
The easy win. We all like easy wins. We all like easy wins. So as a player, as a coach, give me the one where I get to relax in the ninth inning a little bit. Baseball, if you're a fan and if you're a neutral observer, you probably like one of the Arkansas games or one of the Kentucky, the comeback against Kentucky or Sunday. But yeah, no. Give me Friday night. Let's coast and get on till the next day. And by the way, hey, on atmosphere, do me a favor, guys. Or no, I'm sorry, do me a favor. do the Gamecock baseball program a favor. Thursday night at 8:00. I know it's a late start, but everybody realizes what's happening, right? Like Georgia and South Carolina, where they are, what Georgia just did this weekend to Vanderbilt. There should be over 8,000 people every day in that ballpark coming up this weekend. So I sure hope y'all push it as hard as you can because they deserve – that needs to be the most intimidating atmosphere in the country. The best player in the country is coming to town, Charlie Condon. And Georgia's number 5 in the RPI, and they are a regional host today. This is huge. As big of a series as you could ask for to finish your regular season at home. This is going to be an incredible baseball series. So if anybody likes baseball or likes the Gamecocks or both or whatever it is, I sure hope they'll find a way to get down there on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all of them, one of them, whatever it is. Just get down there.
It's been stated. It's been noted. Your marching orders have been served by Jamie and the crew. We'll come back on the other side. Jamie, I want to get into a little bit, like you said, I want to get into some of the peak performances from this weekend and tell us how those performances will stack us up for the series coming up. This is the early game.
And taking a look at those traffic conditions out there this morning, we do have a report of a fallen tree, and that's Broad River Road near I-20. It's right about at Marley, but Broad River near I-20, a tree has fallen. Screaming Eagle Road and McCord's Ferry, a report of a disabled vehicle there, so might slow things down. Earlier accidents have been cleared. That is wonderful news. And we're looking for a high today of 82. Could see a little bit of scattered rain after about 11 o'clock this morning. Could see some afternoon thunderstorms also. 90 for a high tomorrow under cloudy skies. 91 on Wednesday before maybe some afternoon or evening storms returning come Thursday. Right now, though, 69 on the early game.
Welcome back into the early game. Preston Thorne, Tyler Head, Jen Jensen. Tyler's in for Bill this morning. Bill's finishing up his vacation. We got our guy Jamie Bradford on the phone. He's giving his marching orders. Thursday, big series coming up. But before we get to Thursday, Jamie, let's talk a little bit about the performances on Friday. Who were some to you the standout performances from this past weekend in Missouri?
Oh, well, there's no question that the tip of the cap offensively goes to Cole Messina. I mean, he was 7 of 11 on the weekend officially at the plate, with a couple of home runs, and that's your All-American right there. He's hitting 341 in the SEC, guys. That's pretty good. And of course, he's phenomenal behind the plate with how he handles the pitchers and steals strikes and keeps the ball in front of him and all that stuff. I mean, he's an All-American for a reason, and he showed it this weekend, and they can't win without him. He has to play well. Ethan Petrie said it yesterday talking to Coach Lake after the game, that how important it is for Cole Messina to be swinging the bat well, because when he's swinging it well, there's the obvious, right? He's swinging it well, but also that means that Petrie's probably going to see more pitches to hit because he's hitting in front of him in the 2-hole. So, it's what a weekend for him. Dalton Reeves yesterday was just phenomenal. He can do so many things offensively. He has quality at bats. Clearly, he's hit the ball out of the yard a bunch, but he gets bunts down. And as a matter of fact, the bunt he got down yesterday gave him the lead because they threw it in the right field. He can hit sac flies. I mean, how about Austin Brindling? I mean, you can argue that comeback would not have been possible without him leaping over the wall to grab the play. That's a what do they call it? SC top 10 or whatever. It might be number 1. I don't know. I didn't see SportsCenter last night, but if he doesn't catch that ball, it's 7-1 Missouri. And where are you as a team? Do you still have it in you to come back and put some runs on the board? So that might have saved the whole day right there. Saved the whole series, saved the whole weekend, saved the whole season outlook, that one catch. I don't know. And then, Ty Good coming in and doing what he did on Friday night to help them get going. He just continues to be magical out of the bullpen, and he's better out of the bullpen. I know a lot of fans keep asking why he doesn't start. His numbers are better out of the bullpen. So if you have to go to him in the second or the fifth or whatever it is, he's just better that way, and it's proven it all year long. He's got a 2.45 earned run average in SEC play. I mean, that is special. That's special, and that's in about 30 innings pitched. So hat tip to all those guys and this entire team for going on the road and getting their third series win in 4 weeks.
You mentioned Austin Brindling there, and it wasn't the weekend at the plate that he was hoping for, but obviously that defensive play, maybe the catalyst for South Carolina pulling off that win yesterday in the way that they did. And again, he's only recently come into the starting lineup over these past couple weeks. We had some strong performances in practice that allowed Coach Kingston, the ability to put him in the game, and the experiment has more than paid off. And again, not the best weekend at the plate, but what he's given to you over these past couple of weeks in that leadoff role specifically has been nothing short of phenomenal that I don't think anybody was expecting out of him, coming into getting put in the starting lineup.
Yeah, you nailed it. He's a spark plug up there, Tyler, and he's a really likable guy. I've never met the kid in my life, but I've certainly asked those who know him pretty well in this program, and what he brings to the ballpark every day, his work ethic, his attitude. He hit like 385 at North Florida. I mean, he was a dude for them, and he comes up here to spend his final year of college baseball. Well, who wouldn't want to? Who transfers to sit on the bench? Nobody, And so he had a rough fall and a rough spring, or not spring, but winter, if you want, before the season kind of getting going, and he was just beat out by guys, and he just kept working. And it finally began to click, and that's when they felt comfortable about putting him in the lineup. And as you guys know, it's really hard to mentally stay in it and continue to work when you feel like you're buried on the depth chart, right? And what did he do? He just kept working, and now they'd be winning these games without him, like you were saying. So big time hat tip to a kid like that, and just goes to show you what type of character he's got.
Jamie, one of the things this year is that Coach Kingston and crew have been tinkering all year, relentlessly tinkering to find the best or the most efficient lineup. Do you think we are at a point where they've found that lineup, or there's still a couple changes that you think can still happen?
You talking about the lineup or the pitching rotation?
Both.
Lineup?
Yeah, both of them.
Well, I mean, you got to probably feel okay about the lineup. I mean, Tippett is planning to be back at some point in time this week, at least be available. And when he comes back, I mean, I don't know what they'll do. I mean, I don't know what Coach King's got planned, but I don't know how you just, shove him in the lineup when you feel like this thing's kind of clicking. I mean, they're still having some issues hitting with, for whatever reason, with the bases loaded. I can't figure that out. But so I'm not so sure you want to go out and really mess with that mojo. As far as the rotation goes, that's an issue right now, and they're winning despite it. But their 3 starting pitchers this weekend gave them 5 total innings. Like, that ain't good. That's not good at all, especially with the 2 teams coming up and the offenses that they've got. So, don't let that demoralize anybody. Like, these dudes are very capable of going out. I mean, Kimball's still trying to figure out this thumb. It's not an injury. It's just it's like a cramping issue and how he holds the baseball. He holds it so tight to get the spin rate. And so they got to figure that out. And Eli has not been Eli. But we know what Eli's capable of now. He started out as the Friday night guy. They didn't just plug him in there because they like him. They plugged him in there because he can pitch. But the last couple of weeks, or I'd say 3 weeks, he's been getting knocked around pretty good. So he's going to have to get some things figured out. And then Dylan Eskew, after the first inning yesterday, really just couldn't find the strike zone. When he throws strikes, he's fine. But when he doesn't, he struggles. And you don't have to go back very far to see what that looks like. Go back to last weekend. I mean, he was unbelievable against Kentucky. Unbelievable. 6 1/3, no runs. So they got the guys. They're there. They exist. But they've got to get more innings out of them. And you'd like to – I mean, your goal is to get 15 or 16 innings a weekend out of your starters, and they're nowhere near that. So that's going to burn your bullpen up pretty quick. They got to figure that out. And I'm not Matt Williams, but I know Matt Williams is a dang smart pitching coach, and I'm sure he's probably stayed up all night trying to find the answers, and they'll find them. But they got to get them.
Bullpen certainly saved the day on the weekend, particularly when you look at Ty Good and Garrett Gainey coming in long relief on Friday and Sunday, respectively. Which of those 2 guys was more impressive to you for what they were able to do on the mound on the weekend, being asked to do more than what you thought they would?
You said Gainey and who else?
Ty Good coming in on Friday night.
Yeah, man, that's an interesting question. Way to go, man. I don't know. They're 2 different kind of scenarios, because Ty was kind of expecting to be in there on Friday. Like, that was kind of the game plan, right? And he kind of knew that was going to be his role. And it's Friday night, and everybody's trying to get a series win. And and he went in there and did what he did. He was phenomenal. I'm not so sure that Garrett Gainey was expecting to get called on in the second inning of Game 3. I mean, he's the back end of the bullpen guy, so you generally aren't going to see him until at least the sixth inning. And he came in and calmly just quieted down everything. So I guess I would lean towards Gainey because of the situation, but at the same time, both of them were really, really incredibly crucial performances, and they both performed.
All right, Jamie, when we come back on the other side, Lamont is cooking, but we need to know what exactly what exactly he's serving up. So we want to get some news from you on the most recent commit as far as Gamecock basketball is concerned. We'll bring you back on this side. This is the early game.
It is a busy, busy week for baseball here for South Carolina, coming off of the big series win on the road at Missouri. Don't have to wait long for their next action. Tomorrow night on the road in Rock Hill, taking on Winthrop, 6 o'clock first pitch. Pre-game coverage will be starting right here on the game at 5:45. This upcoming weekend, another huge SEC series as they take on Georgia. First pitch Thursday, coming up at 8 o'clock with 7:45 pregame. Friday night, 6 o'clock 5:30 first pitch with a 5:15 pregame. And then Saturday, wrapping up the series, 2 o'clock first pitch with a 1:45 pregame. Lots of baseball this week as we get closer to the end of the regular season for South Carolina baseball. You can always catch the action right here on the game.
Things getting a little busier out there this morning. Accidents reported Killian Road at Highway 21. Also Lee Road at Hardscrabble. Rabin Road at Faro Road, also an accident there. And Broad River Road near I-20, we have a report of a fallen tree. 82 is going to be our high. Could see some showers later on this morning, then maybe some chances for some afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Again, that high of 82. Clouds tomorrow and Wednesday, highs both days about 90 or 91 before we get into Thursday, where we might see an afternoon or evening shower again and a high of 87. Right now, though, it's kind of breezy and it's 69 on the early game.
Welcome back into the early game. We got Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, Tyler Head in the studio, Jamie Bradford on the phone. Jamie, Lamont is cooking in the portal. So we have a flip of a commitment, which we talked about earlier, is a little bit different for basketball. Football, flipping commitments is no big thing, but there not as much of this happens in basketball. And we got Jamari Thomas, 6 foot, 185-pound point guard. And the first thing I read about him was that he was smart and crafty. And that sounds like somebody that Lamont would obviously want for his system. What can you tell us about Jamari, sir?
Well, he's got to be the conference player of the year in the MEAC, and he was on the all-defensive team. And that matters to Lamont Parrish, doesn't it? He likes when his guys play defense. A couple of months ago, guys, I was talking to Coach Parrish, and I asked him, I said, Coach, this portal stuff is crazy. And you see every year teams basically flipping their entire roster. Some teams only need to add a handful of players or a couple of players, whatever it is. But what we have are starting to get enough data now to realize is that sometimes when you go to the portal, you might sign a bunch of really good players, but it doesn't work. And, look what happened. I gave him the example of Arkansas. It's no disrespect to Coach Musselman, but look at Arkansas, and they had to go to the portal, and it's just been a disaster. And so how do you make this work? Because you've gone to the portal since you've been here, and it certainly has worked. And he gave me an answer that is it kind of hits you in the face when he says it. You're like, oh, duh. But you don't really think, because you get so caught up in numbers and talent and player rankings. Everybody's got a ranking, right? Everybody's got a portal ranking, all these things. And he said, well, Jamie, at the end of the day, we're recruiting kids out of the portal, and we need to make sure that when we recruit them, that their expectations and our expectations are aligned, and that they're the same thing. I said, well, what does that mean? He said, basically, whatever they're looking for is what we're offering. And so essentially, if you're just out signing the best players, and you sign a kid who comes here expecting to play, but you sign 2 more of that same kid, that's going to create a problem, right? But if you are looking for a point guard, and this is the role that point guard is going to play within your basketball team, and you go to the portal, and maybe there's a better player, but his mindset of what he wants to do in his next destination and your mindset of what you need him to do, although he may be a better player, don't match up, then you need to punt and go to the next guy. And so I don't know how it's going to work out for these dudes. We haven't seen them play in a Gamecock uniform yet, but just based on his response to me, they sign guys who closely align with what they are offering on their the role that they have for them on their basketball team, and that's what's able to create that winning culture. And we'll see if it works out again.
As you mentioned, we still got to wait and see what these guys are going to look like in Gamecock uniforms when the season rolls around. When you look at adding Jordan Butler, adding Nick Pringle, and now adding Jamari Thomas, how do you group this transfer class as a whole if you had to give them, say, a letter grade?
No, probably an A, right? I mean, these guys they're good players. I mean, the Thomas kid has extensive experience at that position. Same thing with Pringle at his, and we know he's a talented kid. And then Butler, that wasn't really a good offense for him to play in at Missouri, and he's a young guy, so they can build around him. So I think that they probably got everything they really needed, including what they've got coming back. I don't know. I'd give it an A.
It seems to me as if they've upgraded, especially at the big man position. They've upgraded with the transfer out of Josh Gray and the incoming of Nick Pringle and Jordan Butler. It seems like that they've upgraded that position. It is definitely Jamari Thomas has huge shoes to fill. Filling in for Talon Cooper because Talon Cooper was awesome and he was amazing. But one thing I can't find with Jamari, and maybe I'm just overlooking it, how much eligibility is left for him and in his collegiate career? Was he a freshman last year?
No.
Okay.
No, Thomas was he was originally at where was it? UNC Wilmington.
Okay.
He was a freshman in the 21-22 season, and then played one more year, so that would put him through 23, right? So he should have. Is this his final year?
I believe he just has the 1 year of eligibility left.
Yeah, I think he's just got the one. I think Tyler's right because he only spent 1 year at Norfolk State, 2 at Wilmington, 1 year at Norfolk State, but he's played every single time the whole season basically. So I think this will be his only year left of eligibility.
It's easier now that we've gotten past the COVID years. You don't have to account for that extra year for some of these guys anymore.
Dude, I know. Aren't you over that? I'm over it. Like, let's get out of this. This thing is a debacle.
Yeah.
6 and 7 year guy. I know he's been hurt like 86 times, but there's a tight end at Miami who's like 28 years old. 28? Like, come on, man. Move on. Have kids. Like start a line somewhere.
Jamie,
28.
Out of all the things you said, I think that's the number one thing I agree with more. Like, grow up. It's time to move on. The seat is getting too small for you around here. It's time for you to move on. Jamie, on the other side, we're going to preview the Georgia series since we won't be talking to you before then. We'll talk a little bit about Georgia. And we'll talk about what the Gamecocks need to do. And we'll come back on the other side. This is the early game.
Once again, I'll remind you, since we've been talking about baseball a lot this hour, about the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. Still waiting for that first Grand Slam of the season for Gamecock Baseball. That means the pot, as $25 gets added each and every game, is up to $1,175. They head up to Rock Hill tomorrow to take on Winthrop. Head on the line to 1075thegame.com. Register for your chance to win the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. And here's the thing. Even if they do hit a Grand Slam tomorrow, $25 gets added to the pot once again for this upcoming weekend series against Georgia. So one Grand Slam does not end this whole thing. Multiple chances to win if the Gamecocks can hit multiple Grand Slams. Got to get a little bit better hitting with runners on base, especially with the bases loaded this season. But again, head online to 1075thegame.com. Register for your chance to win Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway.
Welcome back into the early game as we finish off with our guy, Jamie Bradford. He's been hanging out with us in the 7 o'clock hour. So let's do this. Before we get to this preview from the series, let's give away. We got 2 sets of tickets to give away for the Georgia series. Thursday night, 8 o'clock game, first game. So we got 2 sets of tickets. We're going to take caller 5 and 6 before we preview this series. So if you want to get out to that game, as Jamie has already given the marching orders for you to be there.
So Jamie's given the marching orders, and when you win the tickets, you have to promise Jen you're going to be there, you're going to be loud, you're going to be intense.
Right.
Because they're going to need all hands on deck this weekend.
Right. So let's give away. We got 2 pairs of tickets for the Thursday night game. Callers 5 and 6. All right, Jamie.
803-404-6100.
803-404-6100. All right, Jamie. Let's all right,
don't forget the phone number, man.
Well, most importantly. All right, Jamie. Look, I don't
give him Gunner's phone number.
Let him call him up. I'm not sure he'll answer. I don't know a lot about Georgia except for this dude who has 33 home runs. What are we talking about here, Jamie?
Dude, Charlie Condon's probably going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. I mean, we saw Jack Caglione, right? And this kid is just incredible. Technically a walk-on. He was a walk-on, which there's a lot of walk-ons in college baseball because the NCAA is still so screwed up they can't figure out a way to give baseball players more than 11.7 scholarships. But that's for a 7-hour show without commercial breaks. So, yeah, this guy is really, really good, and he's a lot of fun to watch. He's a humble player. Clearly, the offense goes around him, and but they're a really talented baseball team. I mean, look what they did. Look what they did this weekend against Vanderbilt. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Last week, Georgia was probably the highest number 2 seed. This week, when projections come out on Wednesday by D1 Baseball, which is what I follow, they 100% will be a host. And both of them are tied for – Carolina and the Dogs are tied for 3rd in the East, which really doesn't mean a whole lot at all, actually. But They're very similar. Georgia's at number 5 in the RPI. Carolina's now at number 13. And so they're two teams in the same league. It's a league that's probably definitely going to get 6 regional host sites, maybe 7, because Mississippi State has entered. But you don't want to be the team that loses the series this weekend, because South Carolina still has to go to Tennessee, and Georgia next weekend will welcome Florida to town. So the Gamecocks have the tougher road home. So this is a very, very, very crucial series. If they don't win it, it doesn't mean that they're out of being a regional host, not at all. But it is such a big series on the national scale. If the Gamecocks clip them and they get 2 of 3, winning 4 of their last 5 series, they might at that point in time sneak in to the top 8, somewhere around the 7 or 8 mark, maybe 6. So, I mean, there is so much. There's a lot that is – I mean, let's just lay it out. It is what it is, so you don't have to sugarcoat it. There's a lot on the line this weekend, and that's why you play in this league.
We talked about this a little bit earlier this past weekend with none of your starters going a full 3 innings, between the 3 games over the course of the weekend. If you do that against Georgia, you're likely not going to win. What happened? What has to change and be better this weekend for, I'm assuming, Kimball, Jones, and SQ getting the starts once again this weekend to be better?
Yeah, I mean, they're all a little bit different. Kimball's fine from a health standpoint. He's just got some things to kind of work out that as far as his grip and stuff like that goes. But once he, I mean, time's running out, so you got to get it figured out sooner than later. But once he gets it figured out, he'll be fine. I think Eli's more of a confidence thing than anything, to be honest with you. And so I'll be anxious to see how they attack these Georgia hitters, because it's not like Condon's the only one that hits on the team. I mean, they got what, 5 guys I think in double digits with home runs. I think the Branch kid is hit 15. Corey Collins is hit like 14. They got guys. So and SQ, he just needs to throw strikes. When he throws strikes, he's okay. So how will they attack these guys is the question. Kimball, kind of a fly ball guy. SQ and Eli tend to get a lot of ground balls when they're clicking. Garrett Gainey throws so many strikes. This is a very, very important weekend for him. You can't miss in the strike zone with Georgia. They'll hit it out of the yard. And so when he's got to nibble. He can't just be throwing 95-mile-an-hour fastballs down the middle of the plate. That ball will leave Founders Park in a hurry.
That's you led into one of my questions that I had, is that what is the balance between being careful and being scared of a dude like Charlie Condon? How do you approach that from a pitching or just maybe even a team defense aspect?
Well, I think it really depends on the situation. I mean, if he's leading off an inning and you're up by 5 runs, you're going to pitch to him. Go for it. Why not? But if you're tied in the 8th and there's a runner on first or a runner on second or whatever, even if there's nobody on, I mean, put him on first and take your chances with the next guy. There are so many analytics, and I'm saying, this is very surface level, man. I mean, Matt and Monty and King and Joey and those guys, the amount of information they've got on this guy now, the sample size is enormous. I mean, he's been at Georgia for a few years, and he's played an entire season. I'm actually surprised as many people pitch to him as they do. So they'll have a game plan. It's just a matter of whether it's executed. I mean, what's the difference? I mean, the difference is whether you attack or whether you attack in the zone or you attack out of the zone and you try to get him to chase. I would never attack in the zone on this guy. I just wouldn't do it. Forget it. Let him walk. Who cares? You just cannot get to the end of the weekend and say that this guy beat you, because he's capable of beating you, so don't let him beat you.
Yeah, I think the analytics I would go by is 33 home runs. That seems like the analytics stat I would look at and be like, let's maybe approach this one with some caution.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, look, that's the number that stands out. But I mean, he's hitting 459.
But I think that's the best average in the entire country.
Yeah, dude. I mean, think about that. Like, and here's the other thing. Here's the craziest part of this. He's been walked 41 times, right? And you're like, oh, man. And he's been hit 10 times. Wow, 51 free bases. Guys, that's not anywhere near the most on this team. Corey Collins, who's hitting 352, has walked 43 times, and he's been hit 23 times. 23. So, like, people just continue to pitch to him. I don't understand it. Don't pitch to him. And he doesn't strike out much, only 35 Ks. And in the words of Justin Smoke, if you don't hit doubles, you don't hit. And he's hit 16 of those. So he's an excellent hitter. I mean, Carolina's got to score runs. It doesn't matter how well they pitch. They're going to have to score runs. So you're probably going to see Kingston lean more towards the offensive lineup. Going back to your question a little while ago, Preston, he'll probably shift more to the offensive lineup again this weekend. They've got to score.
All right, Jamie, give your marching orders one more time before we get out of here. Tell us what we need to do for this weekend. One more time.
Well, and it's a Georgia team, by the way, with a 5.3 earned run average. So they'll give up some runs. So, do it. Yeah, if you have anything in your body that is a fan of Carolina baseball or Carolina or any mixture of all of that, this is the weekend for you. And I know it starts on Thursday, but dude, I mean, you don't get to do these series this often. This is what it's all about, man. Playing for everything at the end of the year like this. There's so much. The season isn't over if you get beat. It's not. But you get one final crack at it in the regular season in your ballpark. And who likes Georgia? Does anybody really like Georgia? No. So, go in there and heckle them and be loud and have fun and show this team your support. They need 82-42 in there every night, even on a Thursday. It's kind of a crazy 8 o'clock TV time. I don't really like that. But so what? Just go in there and enjoy it. And they battled their rear ends off to get to this moment. These last 6 games are enormous for where they're going to be. They're going to the postseason. Where are they going to start? They're going to start in Founders Park, or are they going to end up having to go on the road? Right now, they're in Founders Park, and easily in Founders Park. Win another series, you pretty much lock that up. So hopefully they can get out there and have some fun with Carolina baseball. This is going to be fantastic.
All right, Jamie, we appreciate you as always. The marching orders have been given. We'll talk to you on the other side on Monday. Hopefully we'll be discussing a Gamecock victory. Jamie, as we appreciate you as always, sir.
All right, guys. Y'all have a great week. Thanks, Tyler. Thanks, Preston.
Thanks, Jamie. So I'm going to read between the lines. If the bases are loaded and Charlie Condon comes up to bat, intentionally walk him.
That might be the play.
Just give him the Barry Bonds treatment.
That might be the play. Like, listen, we'll take 1 instead of 4. This will be a lot better for on our sides. All right, y'all. We made it through 2. We made it through the 6 and the 7. We're coming up in the 8. We got Thorns, Buds, and Roses again. We'll talk a little Thorns, Buds, and Roses. We'll reset the stories. Big finishes over the weekend, and we got the experts in here, especially for our NASCAR finishes. I want to talk a little bit about photo finishes. So we got a lot to finish up with the show in the 8 o'clock hour. This is Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, Tyler Head. This is the early game.
Hey, this is Jen with CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. When we had to do all that demolition in our kitchen and we had to have new cabinets installed, we just really didn't know where to begin because we just kind of weren't in the mood. They made it such a great experience for us, helped us figure out the layout, choosing accessories, and then we got all that done. They gave us that photorealistic rendering, so it looked like we had a picture of our kitchen when our kitchen wasn't even done yet. And that made such a difference because when you're still having to find the other things like the flooring, the backsplash, the countertops, everything else that goes into it, that photorealistic rendering was so helpful. They do more than just kitchens. If you have a closet, maybe it needs to be more functional, they can certainly help with that. Maybe you need a more organized pantry. They can help with accessories for that as well. We just got a new cabinet in an upstairs bathroom. If you want updates made to your home, call CHW or visit chwcabinetry.com. Call them today, 803-520-6837. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation. I-20 westbound at Clemson Road, have a report of an accident there. Also on I-20 westbound at Highway 378, that'd be exit 61. I-77 southbound at Forest Drive, working that earlier tie-up. Killian at Wilson Boulevard, also Lee at Hardscrabble Road, Raven at Faro. And let's see, Spears Creek Church Road at Wood Creek Farms Road, that just came in. And still working on that fallen tree at Broad River Road near I-20. A little bit of rain in the forecast for later today. Could, maybe after about 11. Might see some showers or thunderstorms this afternoon and tonight. A high of 82. Clouds and 90 tomorrow.
Welcome back in for the 8 o'clock early game. Hopefully you've been with us. If you haven't, we're here up at the top of the hour to refresh some of the stories. It's Preston Thorne. Tyler heads in for Bill Gunner. Jen Jensen's behind the board as usual. And Tyler, as I said at the 6, man, this weekend was a fire hose of information.
There's a lot to take in.
It was so much happening at the same time. We had baseball going. You had NBA playoffs. I had a rap beef that I had to catch up.
You're still not caught up.
Still not caught up with it because apparently something happened last night.
I was skimming through Twitter a little while ago about what Drake's latest diss was. Apparently, it's good. And I'm sure if Kendrick has not already responded, it's coming.
The response is probably loading as we speak.
At what point do you end it? Because everybody wants to have the last laugh,
right?
But not responding is almost admitting defeat. So where does it end?
Yeah, that's where the rules of engagement sort of come in. It's like, do we just both sort of just sit this one out and say, let it simmer down, and we don't speak about it anymore? Rap beefs end in various ways. Usually it just ends. So like people are just like, all right, that's enough. We're good. And we'll just go on for the rest of our careers.
You do it until people get sick of it.
That's exactly what
it's like, all right, now it was fun for a couple days.
And this is closely approaching that just because of the volume.
Because we've got like 10 things.
There's like 10 different chapters in this saga that is just happening. And because of the internet, it happens so quickly. Things are being put up hours after another.
I did learn. I had no reason to seek out this information. I did not know Kendrick Lamar's last name was Duckworth prior to this weekend.
Well, yep, there's that. And then if you follow his career, there's Duckworth and Top. It's a lot. Again, if you are a rap dork, as I am, you were here for this weekend. You were reading notes. You were reading lyrics all through the clips.
So I don't know if you're familiar with the comedian Mike Birbiglia.
I am.
It was a joke years and years ago. Rap used to be so innocent and so fun. And now everything is so intense. And now we got beef. Now we got diss tracks and all this kind of stuff. Like, what happened to just rapping about fun stuff from the 80s?
Yeah, that's it's interesting you say that, because that coming up in the next clip, Thorns, Buds, and Roses, people have no historical reference. I'll come back to that in a minute. But yeah, listen, man, beefs have been a part of hip hop history for a long time. And it's essentially saying, listen, man, we're both going for this particular spot. I think I'm number one. You think you're number one. Let's write words and say how we're both number one. This is how this goes. And, you'll have these beats. Fortunately, between these guys, this is just going to stay. Stay rap stuff. There's not going to be any spillage.
It's gone deeper than I'm just better than you.
Yeah.
We've got illegitimate children.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of things being unearthed.
Yeah.
Here.
I mean, it's just like a telenovela, man. You're like, oh, what? But all you have to do this with skill. So children just they're following along. We might come up with another recap a little bit later on the show if you haven't been following that. But aside from the rap beef, There was a lot of baseball this weekend. Gamecocks took a series, took 2 or 3 from Missouri out in Como, which they needed to do.
Happy to report, we just watched the end of Last Hour Sports Center. Austin Brindling's Grand Slam rob ended up being number 2.
Number 2
on the countdown.
Number 2. Number 1 was really good. It's fair. I think it's fair.
I think that was a Long Beach pitcher that went over the railing there at the dugout to catch a foul ball. So I'll give him that. He put his body on the line a little bit more than Brindling did there. But happy to see Brindling get number 2 on the list.
Austin Brindling's number 2 on that. Lamont's cooking in the portal. Lamont is cooking in the portal, signing Jamari Thomas, 6-foot point guard, 185 pounds. Scouting reports is smart and crafty. And I feel like that is somebody where Lamont's like, oh, smart, crafty guy, let me get him.
And here's the thing. And, yes, you've already gotten Nick Pringle from Alabama. You've gotten Jordan Butler from Missouri. So you have a couple guys that have already proven themselves in the SEC. But you know, a lot of people can easily look at somebody that's played at a Norfolk State in a conference like the MEAC and say, oh, you know, how's that going to translate to the SEC? I feel like Lamont has earned the benefit of the doubt at this point. If he sees somebody, has those smarts, has that basketball IQ, and likes what he sees on tape, we can just assume he's going to translate well at this level playing in the SEC because, again, Lamont Paris has proven he's been able to go out there and get those guys so far.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's fooling themselves and saying, you know, they watched a ton of MEA ball unless any of my – so this is where we could maybe get some intel for some of my South Carolina State fans.
Sure.
Maybe you might have seen him last year and maybe I could check and see what he did against South Carolina State. That might give us some intel. But nobody has a bunch of MEAC tape that they're probably watching. But what you do know is that he was the player of the year in the MEAC and also on all defensive team, which those things don't always coincide, right? A lot of times player of the year tends to skew towards offense. So I think that's really interesting that not only was he acknowledged for his offensive prowess, but defensively he's also really good.
So in 2 games against South Carolina State last year, Norfolk State won both those games. In game number 1, he had 16 points.
Right on his average.
5 rebounds, 4 assists. And in the second game, which did go into overtime, 18 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists in that game.
So that's exactly what he did all year, it seems like. So if you saw him play against South Carolina State last year, if you were paying attention, that's what he did all year. And I will always contend that the guys at the top of your lower conferences can play in the bigger conferences.
That's the funny thing about basketball that you don't see for a sport like football, where the talent gap between somebody that plays in Power 5 and somebody that plays at Group of 5 or FCS is so wide. And yes, there are certainly guys that can translate over, but more often than not, there's a reason you're sent to an FCS school, there's a reason you go to a Power 5 school. Basketball is such a different sport where the talent gap between the best teams in college basketball and the teams at the very bottom, there's obviously a difference, but it's not that wide of a margin. So you can't have somebody that, and again, there's so many schools, so many hundreds of players every single year. Some guys get overlooked, and some guys get better as they play in college. Again, he's played for 3 years between UNC Wilmington and Norfolk State. He is at the level where it seems like he should be able to translate and compete at an SEC level, at one of the best conferences in college basketball, given his experience and the skills we've seen him play with so far.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And if you've ever – basketball players are interesting. Shout out to my guy Aaron Lukes or and any of these guys out there, because if you've ever seen a basketball player play against civilians, it's very clear like, this guy plays basketball for real.
Sure.
And it can be Group of 5, D2. I've seen D3 guys, and you look at them, and you're like, oh, they're way better at basketball than the average person. It is phenomenal. Like, just the shot-making ability, the things that they can do.
You get a scholarship to do any type of athletic, you're going to be significantly better than the average person. I don't care what your uncle, who said if he didn't hurt his knee, would have been better than Michael Jordan, said, from years and years ago. Like, no, you have to be special to play at college regardless of the level.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, that's just, when I think about that, I'm like, man, those basketball dudes, you can tell that they make shots. They take the game totally differently. But you summon his name, Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Yes.
And there's been talks of Baby Jordan on the way. We talked
it's on TV right now.
We talked during the 6 o'clock hour about the guy who's really, really having, I guess maybe his coming out party in Anthony Edwards. And if you're not paying attention to the NBA playoffs, which I understand how that might be, I would just say the series between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets is exciting because there are two opposite yet very interesting players in Ant Edwards and Nikola Jokic playing ball.
And game 2 is tonight, I believe, at 10 o'clock. I don't know if that's on ESPN or not,
boy.
but
can't guarantee I'll make that one.
I say it's going to be a late one. That one you might have to catch the highlights coming up tomorrow. But for what we're kind of talking about last week, and you had me pull that clip from TikTok of this changing of the guard with the NBA, where you're seeing KD, you're seeing LeBron still out there playing Steph, guys like that, but they're not the dominant forces that they once were. You're seeing Ant-Man, you're seeing Joker, all these kind of guys emerging as the new superstars of the NBA, and I don't know how it's going to shake out for the rest of the NBA playoffs, but really cool that we could see 2 of those going head-to-head for this series in the conference semis.
So from the basketball GOAT to the football GOAT.
Yes.
Amongst all the stuff that was happening this weekend, there was a roast.
There was. I gotta watch that today. Did not get a chance to get around that last night. The NASCAR race ended up being rain delayed for a couple hours, and we'll get to that coming up in a little bit. But yes, I heard a lot of good things. And look, I love roast. By the way, Comedy Central has a million of them. They've kind of tapered off the past couple of years, but I enjoy a good roast where nothing is off limits, where you can say anything and you can cut as deep as you want to. And the clips that I saw coming away from last night, no punches were pulled in the Tom Brady roast.
So Tom Brady was roasted on Netflix, which Netflix is getting into this thing. Also, Netflix, Cat Williams had a live event on Saturday also. There's just so much happening this week. It was too much.
There is, and the Netflix thing is really interesting. And again, I'm a big wrestling fan. Raw is going to be on Netflix starting next year. So that'll be
live.
That'll be live every single week. That'll be their first weekly live programming. But when we talk about this ever-changing world of sports and television, like Netflix was the partner that I don't think we ever really foresaw. But now they're stepping their game into live programming, live events, and who knows what that can mean for sports going forward.
Well, Netflix has essentially they've dominated the comedy space.
Yes.
If you want to watch a comedian specials, Netflix has essentially dominated that space. So it's really clever what they've done is they've taken the comedy space and the roasts, you put it together with the sports space.
Yes.
And now you have these 2 different fan bases that are coming together to watch their thing. And that's really sort of a brilliant strategic strategy.
It also begged to question in my mind, how many athletes could you have a roast for? Because there's a lot of people that are, because a roast is going to appeal to larger than just a sports audience. Because again, it does cross over into that comedy sphere as well. And there's a lot of athletes that are so huge in the sports realm, but not as huge outside of it. You could have Patrick Mahomes, guys like that, Steph Curry, LeBron, but how many true athletes could you have a roast for that the general public would care to watch?
Well, I wouldn't have thought that it would have worked for Tom Brady, honestly, but then I haven't even seen a lot of clips, but I'm just thinking about there's so many different first off, he's been around for so long.
Yes, that helps too.
He's lived in the public life for so long, and he hasn't done a lot, but we know about his relationships. We know about his career. We know about some of the different things that he's participated in, and it's not even that he's been extra scandalous. It's just that, listen, if somebody's been around in the public eye for 20 years, we'll have stuff to make fun of them about.
Yeah, regardless of if you're a football fan or not, you know about Tom Brady.
Right.
He's relevant enough in the world. Maybe you only care about, fashion and modeling and you know him because of Giselle or whatever it may be, or the scandals or whatever, the Deflategate, things that have happened with Patriots. Regardless, everybody knows who Tom Brady is.
Right. But I saw just clips. Bill Belichick was in attendance.
And he laughed.
And he was laughing. Bill Belichick and Bob Kraft were together.
Yes.
So that's another thing. We saw Julian Edelman having up there.
Gronk was there.
Gronk was there. There was a lot that can happen. So I was not excited about this, but now seeing the previews, I think I'm gonna go back and watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out later today. I'll have a full rundown coming up tomorrow because, again, I love comedy. I love roast. And there haven't been great ones in the past couple of years, but this one looks like it's going to check those boxes.
They have all the heavy hitters. Kevin Hart, Tom Segura was up. I saw Tom Segura.
Yep.
Burt Kreischer, Nikki Glaser. So
Nikki Glaser's very underrated.
She's the one that you do not want a part of, for sure.
She is very good.
She is vicious. And I'm sure that she's going out. You could see Tom Brady just sitting there, and he just had a permanent smile plastered on his face.
Well, his face is stuck like that now.
There you go. There you go. There you go. So, I mean, we'll see what that is, but I think it's just really interesting, and I hadn't planned on thinking about that, but Netflix with their strategy.
Yep.
You take sports, you take comedy, you take the biggest person that we all know in sports, you put them in a roast, and now all of a sudden you have this new audience. Netflix is just building their way into this conversation as far as sports and live broadcasting is concerned.
Oh, yeah. They're going to be a big player in sports for year to come. They're just dipping their toe into it now, but who knows what it's going to look like going forward.
All right, man. So listen, we're here. It's Monday. Y'all know what time it is. Next segment, we'll have thorns, buds, and roses. I lived a lot of things this weekend. A lot of things were happening. My timeline was in shambles. I have so much to say. Thorns, buds, and roses coming up in the next segment. This is the early game.
Craft Beer Card, it is officially back. You can spend $30 a brewery at 12 different craft beer locations. It's a $360 value, all yours for just $79. I like craft beers. You like craft beers. It makes all the sense in the world to get the Craft Beer Card and take advantage of it. All these great deals at all these different craft beer locations all around the Columbia area. Head online to 1075thegame.com, click on the Sweet Deals tab, and purchase yourself a craft beer card or purchase it for somebody else. Hey, Mother's Day's coming up here in a couple days. Got Father's Day coming up here in a month. Plenty of opportunities to buy the craft beer card for somebody that you love and care about. Again, go online to 1075thegame.com, click on Sweet Deals, purchase the craft beer card.
I-77 northbound at Fort Jackson Boulevard. That would be exit 10. The left lane is currently blocked. Also have a report of an accident, Bush River Road near Lake Murray Boulevard. I-20 westbound at Clemson Road. Also I-20 westbound at Highway 378. Killian at Wilson Boulevard. Also Lee Road at Lee Road at Hardscrabble, she says. And Rabin Road at Farrow Road, an accident there. Spears Creek Church Road at Wood Creek Farms Road. They're working on getting that cleared up. And we're looking for maybe some rain and showers later today. Thunderstorms are a possibility. Rain may be starting sometime after about 11 this morning, and then some thunderstorms possible this afternoon. Right now, 70 and windy on the early game.
Welcome back into the early game. Preston Thorne, Tyler Head in for Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen behind the board, 8:21. It's Monday. Lived a lot this weekend. I've been talking about it all day, man. Scrolling the timeline. There's been so much going on. But, Jen, it's time for Thorns, Buds, and Roses.
It's time for Thorns, Buds, and Roses with Preston Thorne on the early game. 107.5 The Game.
All right, Tyler. Thorns, big Thorn. Went to a costume party this weekend.
Okay.
Themed costume party. The theme was 90s.
Okay.
Theme was 90s. And there were two people in there who were dressed like the 90s. This is where you being a rap dork and a history major collide, because everybody else was dressed like it was the 80s. They had on Kangos and Run DMC type of things. And I'm like, that's fine, but this is not an 80s party. This is a 90s party.
Now, what were the people appropriately dressed wearing?
Me.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Very long denim shorts, way down past your knees.
Okay.
Oversized. I think I had
the Jinko jeans.
Close to Jinko, but they're shorts though.
Okay.
So it was Jinko type shorts. So you just have to have on very big shorts.
Okay.
I had on what they called a T-skirt, where you have the very long T-shirt.
Yep.
I don't know if you might have missed that time period. You know, T-shirts that would bow down to your knees. So you got to have the shorts past your knees, big shirt. But here's the thing that really, really, really bothered me. I think people think I dress like that for real.
Oh,
because nobody said anything to me about my costume. I was like, guys, I'm wearing a costume.
It's like, oh, there's Preston.
Yeah, because I didn't know all these people. These were new folks. And so I came in there in my costume. I'm like, hold on a second. This is the 80s. And clearly I don't dress like this. I wanted to tell everybody, hey, this is a costume. This is not.
Yeah, this is the 90s. This is not me.
I'm not stuck in 1998. So, yeah, that was my big thorn. If we're going to do a theme, stick to the theme, get your timeline right, and be correct.
And I think 90s, that's harder to dress. Because I just don't think there was nearly as much eclectic stuff.
Yeah, there wasn't as much. We could do. There were things you could do though.
Just look like AC Slater. That's all you got to do.
There you go. That.
Yeah,
that would have worked. Also, when people say 90s, everybody thinks early 90s, but guess what? The late 90s was still a long time ago.
You could go grunge.
You could have went grunge.
Yeah.
A lot of different things that you could have done for the 90s, but everybody went 80s, and I was very disappointed in them. So listen, make your theme parties historically and accurately the timeline correct. Buds, Ant-Man. I've talked about it all show. Watch them tonight at 10 o'clock. Can't promise that I'll see it because it's a late game.
It's on TNT, by the way. Look it up.
I don't know if I'm going to watch that. Oh, that's really late. But if there was a game that I would watch at 10 o'clock at night, it would be this. Ant-Man versus Joker. Be there for it. I'm telling you all, this is going to be the best series of the NBA playoffs. So, Buds, watch the Ant-Man. I think he's growing up into superstardom before our eyes. Roses, and I'll probably be singing this tune a lot. Roses for all of the college graduates who graduated this past weekend. Congratulations. College graduation doesn't quite feel the same as high school graduation because you actually have the real world in front of you. College graduation has some of those, it's a little, it's not as fun. It's a little sad. It's like, man, I have to go out here and be an adult here very shortly.
The fun kind of comes to an end when you graduate college.
Yeah,
It's like,
when you graduate high school, it's like, oh man, I got the whole world in front of me. It's going to be great.
Because you're either immediately starting a job or you're going into the reality of, oh, I don't have a job.
Yes. Or you just like, I need to go back to school.
Yeah.
I want to do this again.
I'm thinking my master's, my doctorate. Yeah.
Can I get another 30 hours?
Well, I was going to say, at that point, that graduation just feels like another day. Like, oh, got to go back to class on Monday.
Yeah.
For sure. But congratulations to all the students who graduated this past weekend. Though I'm joking, it is a great accomplishment. And one thing that I'll say this over and over throughout the weeks, we don't want to ever get so jaded that understanding that graduation from college is an accomplishment. It is something that people still, you have to battle through for 4 or 5 or 6 years, however long it takes you to finish a goal. 7 for my co-host. However long it takes you to get it done, it is still an accomplishment, and it's an accomplishment for families. It's an accomplishment for everybody that's involved. And so graduation time for me is always a really cool time. So roses for all of the students who have graduated this weekend, especially from college, and I'll be singing the same tune, especially when it comes to high school graduation. So those are our thorns, buds, and roses for the weekend. A lot of things were going on this weekend.
Now, who was the other person that was dressed appropriately for the 90s party?
One of my wife's friends, she had appropriately, she had some gold teeth that she had ordered from Temu, I believe, which was exciting. She had some gold teeth, and she had like some big door knocker type of earrings, and she was done it. She did it well. Everybody else, man, I mean, we had like costume jewelry, but it was like big gold chains. I was like, that's 80s.
Yeah, that's Mr. T. That's
we're doing 80s, man. We're not doing 90s. And so, like I said, my biggest pet peeve, I think, is that all of those people who, a lot of them I didn't know. So again, already I'm walking into a costume party. I don't know anybody. It's strange.
You can't exactly go to me like, that's 1985, man. What are you doing? Like, who's this guy?
That's what I wanted to tell him. I was like, you're not dressed appropriately at your party. I couldn't tell him that. And also, like I said, I think everybody thinks that that's how I dress now. And so that was the thing that I think that was really starting to bother me by the end of the day.
And that's kind of that late 90s vibe. So people can automatically assume like, oh, he's the guy that's still stuck in high school. Like, man, when I graduated, this is how I dress. And I was at the top of the world back then, so I don't think I need to change my ways.
That's it.
I could see that.
That's what
I could see how people would make that mistake.
I told my wife that. I said, you know that some of those people think your husband dresses like this. This is on you. They're really judging you because they think that I dress like this now.
The next time you see one of these people from this party, dress like that.
Oh my gosh, that'd be hysterical.
You're meeting them for lunch, whatever it may, dress like that and see what their reaction is.
Yeah.
That's what we thought.
Yeah, it's gonna be like, yep, that's exactly who we thought it was.
Confirmation.
Yeah, so that was the weekend, man. It was a good weekend. A lot of stuff was happening this weekend. But also, and I'm glad I have my two experts, photo finishes everywhere.
Pretty much.
We're gonna come back. We're gonna come back on the other side. And I want to kind of get into y'all when y'all see these things developing, how they play out, and what did y'all think about the photo finishes for the weekend? This is the early game. I'm Preston Thorne, Tyler Head, Jen Jensen. We'll be back on the other side.
All right, Absolute Glass.
Preston here. Let me tell you about my friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they work directly with the insurance company to take away the headache. Now, if you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows or mirrors, Absolute Glass will come out and take care of that for you, too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. I say all the time, if you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Well, it's kind of turning into a Monday out on the highways. Give you a list of what's going on. Spears Creek Church Road at Wood Creek Farms Road. Also, I-77 northbound at Garner's Ferry. I-20 westbound at exit 61. Also, I-20 westbound at Clemson Road. Bush River Road near Lake Murray Boulevard, an accident there. I-77 northbound at Fort Jackson Boulevard. There is a tie-up there as well. And we're looking for a high today of about 82, maybe some afternoon storms, and rain maybe starting around lunchtime. Clouds for Tuesday and Wednesday, highs in the low 90s both of those days. It's kind of windy out there right now and cloudy. It's 70 on the early game.
And here comes Truex. They're going to close right to the 2 leaders. Coming to the line. Crash together. I believe Busher.
I think you're right. It's so close. This is going to be a huge win for Busher. They're excited. I think it's him, Kevin.
That was incredible.
Corey Heim gets spun just past the checkered flag with, I think, Austin Dillon.
Oh, yeah. Let's look at it. It may be the 5.
This is where Preston passes the microphone to our experts. What happened?
The thrill of victory, the agony of defeat.
So let me show you the still photo here, Preston.
Yeah.
You're looking at the finish last night. It was essentially a tie.
Yeah.
That's a tie to the eye.
The official scoring showed 0.0000 at the line between Kyle Larson and Chris Busher. They had to go back to the high-res camera that's positioned at the finish line to determine that Kyle Larson was ahead by about 3 inches.
And fortunately, there was some controversy because that line, the quote finish line, is painted and it's crooked, but that's not the actual line that determines the win. There's like a laser finish line. So they do have an official like scoring line. So there have been a lot of people, look at that. No, it's painted funny. Well, no, that's not the official scoring.
The finish line that's painted on the track is more ceremonial than anything else, just as a point of reference. When it comes to actually determining the actual finish of the race, and I actually have a photo of this as well, this is the line that they're actually going off of. Again, that's kind of from the high-res camera. That's how close it was.
I mean, even if you look at that line's still double lined.
I know. It's still. I mean, it's right there.
You have to go very close.
I mean, it was the closest.
Did y'all see it? Did either one of you watch the race?
Oh, yeah. I was watching it live.
Did you see it developing like this was going to happen?
Yeah. So, and they had a green-white checkered, so 2 laps to go to set this up. And nobody's really talking about this. Kyle Larson making it stick on the outside going into 3 and 4.
Unbelievable. Yep. That was incredible. I mean, for him to do that. And I was fearing a little bit that it was going to be, they're going to knock each other out because they were kind of bumping and banging at the end. You know, there was a good wheel print on the side of Kyle's car at the end of the race and stuff like that. And I really thought something was going to happen and maybe Truex was going to come through and win.
And we nearly got a 4-wide finish because Elliott and Truex are right there on the outside. And if Larson and Bush would have made any additional contact, we might have had one of those 2 guys win or a 4-wide finish, something like this. But, you know, you don't get these finishes very often. And yes, we had the one at Atlanta a couple months ago that was, at that time, one of the closest in NASCAR history. Then you get another one a couple months later. Like, this is so rare and so special when it happens. And that took the cake as the closest finish ever.
So you have this photo finish. And then that was the cars. And then the horses. Then they photo finish. And they come out. I believe we might have a clip from this real quick. I believe it's clip 10. Let's hear this photo finish from the Derby. For the Kentucky Derby, which is always a big weekend.
There on the far outside, here comes a run from Stronghold and Resilience has now moved up to take the lead, and fierceness is given way, coming by the 16th pole, and Mystic Dan has now come through on the inside. It is Mystic Dan down toward the inside with the lead in the final 16th. Forever Forever Young. Sierra Leone is coming. These three coming down to the wire. Who's it going to be? Oh, it's a photo of the Derby. Oh, it's a photo. Was it Mystic Dan or was it Sierra Leone? Forever Young was between them, catching freedom, finished fourth.
Again, what more could you ask for? Everybody's out there. Everybody's dressed up, wearing their seersucker and their hats and everything. And you have that. Matter of fact, we got our guy Brian Glenn out here on the phone line. Brian, give us your Kentucky Derby commentary, please, sir.
Well, I will say this. As someone who I grew up with horse racing, I right around Saratoga every day in season. I learned to read with my grandfather on the racing farm at Belmont Park. That was one of the best races I've ever seen. I've never in all my life seen that many horses within 3 lengths turning for home. It was incredible. The NASCAR race is good. The one thing about horse racing is it depends where they are in their stride too. You know, their heads are bobbing back and forth, so you know the announcer can't really tell. But yeah, I think any type of racing where they cross the line and you're not sure who wins when they cross the line, that's excitement.
So Brian, I actually learned something this weekend. I did not know that the finish was determined by the mirror at the finish line. Because again, as you mentioned, with horses, depending on where your head is nodding and all that kind of stuff, like that is what was used to determine this win is how close it was then at the very end. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was something, and they, you know, there are occasionally in horse racing dead heats. You know, clearly that nose was ahead just by a bit, but yeah, that was a fantastic race. The state of horse racing right now, I saw yesterday too that the owners of Mystic Dan say they may not run them in the Preakness. It would be a disservice to the sport, but the one thing, you know, a lot of the critics of the sport say that the animals are abused and this and that, and in some of the lower levels it's probably true. These horses here, they live better lives than we do. I can say that for certain.
Right.
But, you know, it goes to show that you got a horse that, you know, has a chance to win the Triple Crown, and the owners and trainer may not run him because of his health. The last time he ran 2 weeks after, he didn't do too well. So, you know, that's kind of a proof right there that there are a lot of good people in horse racing that do care about the animals. That's all they care about.
Man, Brian, you're a professional because that's exactly what I was going to ask. I was going to ask why they would not run him. So that being said, if he doesn't run, that kind of eliminates the opportunity for a Triple Crown, correct?
It totally does.
Right.
And it, you know, with a 3-way photo finish too, immediately I was like, oh my God, the Preakness is going to be awesome. But the one thing about the Triple Crown is it's all 3 races are so different. The you know, the Derby running 1.25 miles. The Preakness used to be 1.8 miles. It's 1 3/16 miles. This year they're redoing Belmont, so they're running the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga. The Belmont was 1.5 miles, and it's on a big. It was called Belmont Big Sandy. It's a huge track, completely different turns, but they're running it up at Saratoga, so they're moving it down to 1.25 miles. So it's almost like if someone did win it this year, it's not a true Triple Crown because that 1.5 miles at the end is the true test of whether or not the horse is an all-around champion or not.
Well, Brian, I don't know if you know it, but we appreciate your expertise, and you've just been hired for the Preakness, so we'll be coming back to you for some more expertise analysis on the Preakness. So not only do you make wonderful pizza and you have a wonderful establishment, but you have now just picked yourself up another job. Thank you, sir.
We appreciate that, Brian.
I will bring insight and pizza.
Awesome. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. That's Brian Glenn from the Village Iliad, our guy who does great work with us in the station. And didn't know he was a horse?
I didn't know
horse
either.
Guy.
So my first exposure to horse racing in person was the Carolina Cup this year. So I still have a lot to learn. But man, you give me exciting finishes like the Kentucky Derby, I'm in.
It'll get you in. All right, we're gonna finish this things off, and I'm just gonna say this. Hey guys, stop being so weird. We'll see it on the other side.
lot of baseball happening this week. I'm not going to have to wait long for that next game. Tomorrow night, taking on Winthrop. South Carolina heads up to Rock Hill. First pitch coming up at 6 o'clock. Pregame coverage starting at 5:45 right here on the game. Then the huge series this weekend as they welcome Georgia to town. First game coming up Thursday is a Thursday through Saturday series. 8 o'clock game on Thursday night. Pregame coverage starting at 7:45. 5:30 game on Friday. Real early start there. Pregame coverage starting at 5:15. Wrapping up the series on Saturday. 2 o'clock first pitch out at Founders Park. 1:45 pregame starting right here on the game. So again, catch all of the Carolina baseball action right here on the game all week long.
All right, y'all, let's wrap up this thing. Hopefully you've been with us. If you've been listening, we appreciate it. As you know, there's been a lot going on this weekend, from baseball taking the series to rap beefs, photo finishes, costume parties. It was a lot going on this weekend. But I said last segment, hey, guys, let's stop being weird. And I don't know if this is something that, I don't know why this is happening. I don't know what's going on, but the journalists are struggling with ways to interview Caitlin Clark. What is happening?
I don't get it. Yes, she's a very special player, but she's no different than anybody else. Why does everybody have to go about asking her questions in such a bizarre way?
If you think we're making things up, let's go to the clip. Let's hear from let's hear this question to Caitlin. Here we go.
Will Bay be here?
Who?
Is Bay going to be here?
No, he's working. Yeah. Yeah, I'm flying solo. I better get used to it, man. This is the pro. This is my job.
If you didn't hear that, can we get that one more time?
Will Bay be here?
Who?
Is Bay going to be here?
No, he's working. Yeah. Yeah, I'm flying solo. I better get used to it, man. This is the pro. This is my job.
I mean, first of all, a grown person asking somebody, will Bay be here?
Is this 2012? Well, what year are we in, by the way?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's happening with that.
I wasn't sure that was the case. But it's great that he works with the Pacers. So he's already in Indy. So that's wonderful that, it worked out that her job now is in Indy and stuff like that. But really, that's the first question you're going with.
And that's the first thing. What are we doing? First, we have this woman who's about to take the league by storm. She stands on her own individual accomplishments.
Mm-hmm.
That is first off, sexist is the first thing that came to my mind. Like, why do we need to ask this woman about her partner who has nothing to do with what's happening here? But furthermore, what a silly question.
Now, she responded to that one better than what happened a couple weeks ago.
And she's handled both of these
She
very
has
well.
handled it well. And look, she's got a lot of eyes on her because of how big of a profile athlete she is. I'm very excited. I've watched some of her clips from the preseason. Excited to see when the regular season starts here in a couple days what that's going to be like. But man, why can't people just be normal around Caitlin Clark? I don't get it.
I'm not sure what's happening. And again, it's been really fascinating because when we saw her at Iowa, and this is something that I want to get into a little bit more, but when we saw at Iowa, we basically saw a scoring machine.
Yeah.
At least from what we saw, we didn't get a chance to see her as a personality.
Sure.
We didn't get a chance to meet who she was. And it's been really cool. I don't know if the right word is pleasant, but I've been pleasantly surprised by her personality.
She's been having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They've been showing a lot of social media of some of the photo shoots and all of that they've been doing and horsing around.
And the WNBA needs to capitalize on this.
100%. Yes.
Like, you have the opportunity to really bring in a lot of new viewers to your product because Caitlin Clark carries a lot of attention. So you need to put her in front of as many people as possible with media appearances. She's obviously in a lot of commercials with State Farm and stuff like that, as it is anyway. But, like, the WNBA needs to milk this for all that it's worth. Because here's the thing, and I have a theory that her debut game here in a couple of days is going to set all kinds of records for WNBA viewership. But that's going to taper off as time goes along. So you need to strike while the iron's hot. Get as many people watching your product as possible until, football takes over and people start to lose interest.
But then you get the Angel Reese fans who are like, what? Preseason game that showed Caitlin but didn't show, they didn't air the Chicago Sky game,
yeah.
So now are we also people building a rivalry of?
Maybe so. And
I don't know.
that
That's
would
not
be
bad.
so good for the sport too, because yes, there's been a lot of great players, a lot of rivalries within the sport, but perhaps not as high profile, at least in the larger scale of
Modern
the casual
times
sports
today,
fan
for sure.
than what you potentially have with these two.
Yeah, you don't get a chance to pick and choose when this happens for your league. And now you have these compelling folks that are here that people are paying attention to now. This is not saying that people have not been. Yes, as you heard in the break, they fumbled the ball in not having the game with Chicago largely televised even to their paying or their streaming audience. And a woman took out her phone, live streamed it, and according to the numbers, had over 800,000 people that were viewing it. That just seems like a missed opportunity. And it seems like that, but what that does signal is that there is an appetite for this thing to be happening. So if there's going to be an appetite for these women to be in front of microphones and speaking, hey, guys, ask them regular questions.
Yeah.
It could be about the game. It could be about your new time in this new city. I don't know what it has to be, but just to ask a bad question and also one that's centering someone else, it was very bad
And
form.
again, this isn't as creepy as the Indy Star guy that was asking about the heart symbol and all that. Hey, do that to me and we'll get along just fine. Like, bro, get out of here. What are you doing?
I don't know what that was. So our public service announcement for the early game to any media out there, because there will be some media coming. And I don't have the date in front of me, but Asia Wilson will be coming into town very shortly, I believe, very soon. So if we have any of these W players from the W, ask them questions about basketball. Okay, and if they want to display their personality, they will be able to show that through their answers for the questions. You don't have to ask a very strange question.
This Saturday, actually.
This Saturday.
Las Vegas Aces taking on a Puerto Rican national team coming up this Saturday.
Yeah, so the Queen is coming back, and so I expect that's going to be largely sold out. And just from what I've seen over social media, the teams were taking doing their photo ops and doing a lot of the stuff for their media and press guides. And I'm really curious to see how this thing works out even just from a basketball standpoint. Seeing Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston sort of play a high-low game where they can play that pick and roll and have things that are happening. I think that's going to be very, very interesting. But for everybody out there, guys, relax. Don't ask weird questions.
It's like you know what you're doing. Like
exactly.
You're supposed to be a pro.
Like be a pro. You can be a pro. Tyler, you're still going to be on deck here.
Yeah, I got 2 more hours by myself, and then the Gamecock Central Takeover hour.
Anything they could look forward to in your show today?
So we're going to talk with Jack Feltry at 9:30, 9:15, recapping what happened out there in Missouri. He was out there in Como for it. And then 10:30, we didn't get a chance to dive into this. All this new stuff with the future of college football, this player model of salary and all that kind of stuff. Mitt Winter, who is a sports media attorney,
Mitt is awesome.
going to be joining me at 10:30 to give his insight from a legal perspective on how all this is going to go down.
I will be listening to that. Mitt is probably the person that I rely on most on Twitter to give me that type of information. He's been incredible. If you don't follow Mitt, listen to that interview today and follow him on Twitter. Whew. Like I said, a lot was happening this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
I think I can go back and maybe catch up on the last installment of the Drake and Kendrick Lamar rap beef, but I'm done with it after today. Jen, thank you for your work behind the boards. Tyler, it's always fun. This is Preston. It's been the early game.